I remember starting off on my entrepreneurial journey thinking, oh man, everything is on my shoulders. I don't have retirement. I don't have insurance. I even remember thinking, I don't know how people write themselves a paycheck. It's really hard to even just make the money. Like if I make $5,000 in revenue inside of my business, I don't make $5,000 in my paycheck, and thinking, how do I ever get out of this spot that I'm in? And what I needed to do was build a better earnings machine, but I needed to attach it to a wealth machine, to a money machine. And they're two completely different things that I did not understand when I first got into business. But once you understand this, and it doesn't matter if you're just starting out, it doesn't matter if you're making $1 a month, there is a way to get started now so that you don't have to depend on your business for money for the rest of your life. In fact, the more you grow your money in revenue inside the business, the more your wealth machine or money machine starts to generate outside of your company. So if you're interested in that, or maybe if it doesn't even make sense quite yet, but you're like, okay, that sounds great. Well, keep on listening, because we have a guest coming on to break down how to do this so you start building your wealth outside of your business. So keep on listening.
Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Today is our first guest interview on the podcast that we've had probably in a long time, probably a couple months. I've just been on fire with the single episodes, the solo episodes, and so I just kept that train rolling, but we wanted to interrupt that train for a very, very special guest. This is a returning guest, someone that has helped me. Like if I had to put the top 3 mentors that I've had in my life, this person is definitely in that top 3 spot. And it's great because the way that this person has helped me is not in the traditional internet marketing sense. I would say it's in the life, financial, business, holistic, sense. And that guest is Mel Abraham. So Mel, welcome to the show. Glad to have you back.
Brandon, it's so good to be back. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too. Well, we could kick this episode off and go in a million different directions. There's so many ways that you've helped my life, not just from like a financial standpoint, but also just from a quality standpoint as well. And I'm really excited to just dive into a lot of that stuff today. But if there's anyone new who doesn't know who you are, can you just give a little background about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah. So I'm a CPA by education, but I've been an entrepreneur for decades. I know I'm well preserved, but I'm up there in a few years. But the reality is that most of my work has been helping entrepreneurs and people build their businesses, but also at the same time build their wealth in their life, and do it in a fashion that makes it impactful, but not just impactful to the people they serve, but impactful to the people they love too. And so that's, kind of in a nutshell what I've done. I mean, I've worked with some of the top thought leaders in this space, as well as bricks and mortar recognizable brands, national brands, international brands that you would recognize, and people that just you wouldn't even know, but starting up, because to me, we were put here. I don't know. I just look at it and say we were put here and given a unique gift. And our job during our time here is to nurture that gift and then to leave it behind, to give it back to the world. So it's ours to borrow while we're here, to nurture and to bring it to life, and then to gift it back to the world. And I think that allowing people to live directly into that, that excites me.
Well, I really like that. Jacqueline, my wife, and I were at lunch today, and we had just went to the kids' jogathon. And I remember looking around at the kids' jogathon and thinking, first of all of the friends that we know, our kids' friends, some of their parents weren't even there. And then if they were there, it was like just the mom or just the dad, but it was Jacqueline and I. And sometimes you just kind of take for granted the things that, that wealth or the financial freedom or the machine gives you, because it becomes your normal day, part of your life. And I remember sitting there looking around going like, that's pretty cool. Like had I not looked around, I would have totally taken it for granted. But that's what is most important to me, is it's not having the money per se, but it's experiences like that, like being able to sit there and watch my kids, no worries about like missing a meeting or work, or I have to go pay the bills and things like that. And that's what I love so much about your philosophy, is that this is more about quality of life. Like we can all chase dollar bills all day long, but it doesn't really do us any good if our relationships are shot, like we're constantly working all the time. And then we actually went to lunch after this, or after the jogathon, and we were sitting there and we started to talk about the money and the stresses and the things that people are like dealing with and working through. And I was like, you know what? I think society just has it backwards. I think so many people stress themselves so much over these standards that society has created for us, and they haven't really figured out how to play the game yet. And you can play it at all levels. And I just want to make sure, is that a good like summary of what you're talking about and what you help people create?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. So here's the interesting thing. American Psychological Association came out with this recent study. 72% of people say they're stressed about money.
Yeah.
22% say that they're extremely stressed about money. So, 25% to 75% either extremely stressed or stressed. But then we all grew up, or many of us grew up in a household where they said, don't talk about money.
Right.
So what? We're supposed to just saddle ourselves with this stress.
Right.
Well, if we're supposed to have physical wellness and mental wellness, and one of the biggest stressors in our life is money, but we're not talking about it, there's no way we're going to have physical wellness or mental wellness without financial wellness.
Yeah.
We got to get it dialed in. Now, here's the other thing that you kind of touched on, which I was having a conversation literally with one of the people at my publisher who happens to be a millennial. And he says, I'm never going to be able to buy a house, never going to be able to buy a house. And I totally stumped him, because I said, why do you think you need to buy a house? That's what you're supposed to do. I go, really? I said, who said that you're supposed to buy a house? Well, it's the American dream. I said, I get it, but whose dream is it?
Right.
And I'm not saying not to buy a house. What I am saying is, if you're buying the house because it's someone else's dream, it's the wrong decision.
Right.
And too often, that's kind of where you were going, we actually take on the dreams of others as our standard. What does our career say? What does our degree say? What does our parents say? What do our siblings say? What does society say? And we start to run that path. And before you know it, you go, how did I get here? This is not what I wanted to do.
Right.
And that's the thing, that when we chase just the money, we find ourselves in a place where we can find ourselves. It's not automatic.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that I know a lot of very, very wealthy people.
Yeah.
They've got hugely, immensely wealthy bank accounts, but they have tremendously bankrupt lives.
Yeah. What does that mean?
It is the fact that there is no enjoyment in life. There's no joy in life. There's no rich. I don't want wealth without richness. I want richness. I want to experience life. I want to know that everything that I'm doing is bringing that joy to me. And I think part of it is this: when we're on a chase for a number, whether it's $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, doesn't matter what that number is.
Right.
We're chasing a demon that's this number that carries with it what we think is happiness, satisfaction, contentment, and all those things. But the reality is, it doesn't.
Yeah.
The number is just a number. The idea is this: what actually is going to bring you joy?
Yeah.
What is that? And forsaking what people think. Look, I'm a CPA by education. I was at a big firm in downtown Los Angeles, and literally one Friday night when I realized this is not my life, I walked in and quit.
Yeah.
But how many people stayed there, worked to the point that they ended up as partners, but miserable,
Right.
affected their health, affected their relationships. They've priced themselves out of the market. They can't make a change. And now they feel like I'm stuck. And now I just, this is my lot in life, and I just got to live it out.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. And going back to that person you said, like, thought they couldn't afford the house. And your next question is like, well, why do you think you need to? You can tell that they had just grown up in a society and created this structure, this box of what is normal, instead of crafting their own life the way they want. Because it's like, let's just say you make 10 grand a month and your rent is $3,000 a month, and you have, after bills, you have $5,000 left over every single month. Who cares about owning the house? You have freedom. You have complete freedom. Not only that, but then you don't have to pay for repairs. You don't have to pay for anything, and I remember talking to a buddy one time, and he told me, he's like, the secret that most people don't realize is, even if you're making $50,000 a year, but you have a $40,000 a year lifestyle, he's like, you made it. Like, you're good. He's like, if you can figure out a way to make $50,000 a year and you don't have to work for it very hard, and your lifestyle's $40,000, he's like, you're doing better than someone who has $1 million, but has $1.5 million lifestyle,
Yeah.
And that's what I don't think a lot of people realize. So my question to you is this, because you mentioned that 25 to 75% of people have some sort of stress. And I'm just going to call it 75% of people out there are stressed with money. Why is it that and I'm assuming that 75% are on all different spectrums of revenue level. Yeah. Why is that? Why, no matter how much money they're making, are they completely stressed out?
I think there's a couple reasons for it. One is the stories that tell themselves. It's like, first, this effort is because we grew up in a society, say, go get a good job, go get a good career, go build a business, go earn. So we're running this earnings race. We've been told we're on an earnings journey, build an earnings machine. So the first stress is, how do I make more money? How do I make more money? How do I make more money? The second stress is, once I made the money, can I keep the money? Mm-hmm. Can I, that comes into play. The other part of it is there's a tendency that as our money expands, so does our life and our life's expectations.
Yeah.
And so what happens is we have what we call lifestyle creep or lifestyle inflation. And there's this expectation that you place on yourself or others place on you on how to show up and what should you drive and where should you live. And now this need to put on this persona creates a tremendous amount of stress. Yeah. And deep down, that it's not making you happy. And there's this conflict, there's this lack of congruence. And there's this fear to sit back and say, but I don't want to do that. Right. So let me try and do this. I mean, as long as it's moral and legal, choose your path.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. The other part of it is our money lessons are often caught, not taught. We take them in from observation. So one of the first stories that I tell in my new book is the first time that I ever saw my dad cry. Now I'm a son of an immigrant family, came here at 17 years old with nothing to go to school. And I was about 5 years old and I see him crying. I know he's having an argument with mom. I don't know what it is, but I know it had to do with money.
Yeah.
And I see him crying, saying to my mom, I feel like I'm disappointing the people I love the most.
That's tough.
And I didn't know that it hit me, but my interpretation of it, the meaning I gave it was, if you don't make a lot of money, you're going to disappoint the ones you love. And so that drove me to make a lot of money, to keep making money.
Yeah.
And keep making money. And fast forward into 1996, when my son's 6 years old and he comes running in and he says, Daddy, I drew a picture of you at school today. And so I'm looking at this picture and here I am 2 computer screens, a phone in each ear, one on the desk ringing.
Yeah.
And it was this mirror into my soul. And the fact of the matter was, oh, when my dad cried, he felt that he wasn't making enough and he was disappointing the family. Here I was making good money, and I was still disappointing someone I loved.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the money or the lack of money. It was the interpretation that we gave it, and the fact that we didn't appreciate your time with at the jogathon today.
Yeah.
Is priceless. We don't appreciate the moments, and we should be measuring our wealth in time and not dollars. We should be looking at it and saying, how much of my time do I have say over, agency over, control over? And to sit back and say, I live a life fully on choice and not need. Yeah. That's wealth. That's richness.
Well, that's one of the things that I realized too. I actually did an Instagram post not too long ago where it was a picture of me and my kids in the garage, and we didn't have a lot of money and stuff then. And one of the things I realized when I was looking at that picture is like, they didn't care about the money. They just wanted to sit in the garage with me and hang out. And I realized what money did is it didn't make them more proud of me. It might have made me feel a little bit more proud. They don't give two shits about it. It didn't make them more proud. Yeah. But what the money did is it allowed for more time and quality time and vacations and freedom to fill up that love bucket, to fill up the quality time relationship bucket. And I think that's what it's all about. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions that I've seen, and you've kind of touched on it before, is people put way too much emphasis on the earning machine, which would be like your business or whatever it might be. But so in your description, what is that earning machine? And we do need an earning machine, right? Because that's what feeds the wealth machine or the money machine.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Historically, it made sense because in the industrial age, all you had to do is go get a job, work for a company for many, many, many years.
Right.
And then they gave you something called a pension.
Yep.
And so pension in those days was lifetime income. So you give us your loyalty, we will take care of you the rest of your life. Back then, people weren't living as long, so they could do it. And then all of a sudden, when people started living longer, they said, oh, we can't afford to do this.
Right.
So most companies, unless it's government and military, they've done away with this lifetime income and pension, and they gave us this gift, so-called 401k, IRA, and said, you take care of it.
Right.
The challenge is they didn't give us the tools, the skills, or the education to do it properly. And so what we do is we say, here's what I know. I'm raised to earn money, get a job, get a career, get a business, and just make money, make money, make money. And as long as I'm making money, I'll be okay. That's the earnings journey. That's the earnings machine. And we all need it because we need income coming in.
Right.
The problem lands when you sit back and believe that that is all you need. If the income was all we needed, then you would be fine. But it doesn't give you freedom. It doesn't give you wealth. It doesn't give you control. The purpose of earnings is to give a service, give time, to give a product to the world and get paid for it. So it generates cash flow for a solution. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. What we need to do is take the cash flow from the earnings machine, because it's the source, and build something else called a money machine. The money machine is using what you earned in a way that over time will separate your ability to earn from the effort to earn it. So, and here's what I mean by this is that when you imagine for a moment, you build this machine that has dollars in it that it can spit out anytime you need without draining the machine down the road. That gives you the freedom to be at jogathons. That gives you the freedom to take time off. That gives you the freedom of choice to say, no, I don't want to take that job on. Right. That gives you the freedom because it's no longer tied to your efforts. But we live in an environment of swapping hours for dollars.
Right.
And until we disconnect that, then we're going to be entrapped in that. And that's how we've been raised in an industrial age. And now I'm sitting back saying, no, let's use it to build the money machine so we can pull ourselves away from that and give us the freedom. We need both. You need both.
Yeah, you need both. And obviously the bigger your earnings machine gets, the more you can put into the wealth machine and all of that stuff. And there's different ways to go about doing it. And that was like the biggest switch for me is that before meeting with you and talking with you, so much of my wealth net worth was wrapped up into what the income was inside of the business. One of the biggest problems with that, no matter how much money you make, is if you have, let's just say, a bad launch, or you have, like, you put a bunch of money in ads and it doesn't pay off, and now you have like payroll and things like that. Like, that happened to us a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh man, like, my earnings machine just took a hit. My earnings machine is not looking too good right now. And that was a little scary. Like, I could feel all the emotions coming up, all the fear coming up, because I was at one point 8 years ago, or whenever it was, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, $40,000 in debt because of a stack of bad launches, taxes due, a lot of that stuff. So when I went the second round of a bad launch, I was like, "Ooh!" I could feel those those fears coming up.
Yeah,
but then I had to take a step back and I go, you know what? Like, your net worth is this. You have this sitting there. You got this sitting there. You got this sitting there. You have equity over here. You got this over here. Da 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 da. It's like your net worth, your wealth, actually didn't take a hit at all. 0%. It was, you just didn't grow it as much as you wanted to. And now you got to be a little bit more careful. But there was so much safety and relief in experiencing that. And I know you had experience with that too, with a cancer scare, right? Like, you were able to take a year. Was it a year off, or how long was it off?
I took almost 2 years off.
And you didn't have to worry about anything because your machine was set up, spitting out money, or at least covering what you needed it to cover, correct?
What it did, is the machine was big enough that actually I just took a portion of the income it was generating, and it kept our lifestyle. We didn't shrink anything. We didn't sell anything. I didn't downsize. I mean, our life changed. You're going through cancer treatments. It changes.
Right.
But financially, it didn't change. Right. I had the ability to choose doctors, and the machine kept growing during that time. It just didn't grow as fast.
Yeah.
But the point is that we could have kept it on forever if we wanted to. That's the purpose behind the machine. Mm-hmm. I had to fight the cancer physically, mentally, medically, psychologically, energetically, but I didn't have to fight it financially. And I can't imagine what it would have been like to work to make a living during the day, but have to fight for my life during the night.
And so many people have to do that. And
yeah.
It's just crazy. Like, even with Jacqueline and I, like, raising kids and doing as much as we do, I'm like, man, this is like really hard. And we do have, like, we're able to have housekeepers and we have help. And I'm like, Jacqueline, I don't know how people that are working, both parents are working 2 jobs, can't afford. I'm like, I don't know how they get through the day, because I am effing done, toasted at the end of every day. Thank God that we have what we have, because it would be even worse. I want to learn more about the machine. So why is it called a machine? Number one. And then number two, actually, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I'll write them down in case we forget, but, what is the machine? Number one. Number two is, I know there's gonna be people who are like, guys, I'm barely paying my rent. I can't afford the bills. Like, can I work on my machine now? So what is the machine? If they have low income, can they still build it right now? Or their earning machine is really low, can they still build it? And then number three is, like, what is the machine? What are the elements that make it work?
Yeah. So what is a machine? A machine is actually a group of assets. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's the thing. There's five types of income that you can generate. I'm not talking about 5 income streams, just types of income.
Okay.
The first is active income.
Okay.
That's typically one-on-one. That's the employee, the solopreneur. There's a one-on-one relationship between your efforts and the money coming out. Okay. And if you stop, it stops. If you go, it goes. If you go faster and harder, it goes faster and harder. Yeah. Okay. And that's where we all, in many cases, start. But that's where some people stay. And that's what, in my mind, over time, you either cap out or you hit burnout and breakdown because you just can't go faster, longer, harder forever.
Right.
And so then above that is what I call business income. This is where we start to leverage ourselves out of the business. Now, I don't believe in this concept of passive income.
Right.
Okay. Because your relationship with money is a relationship. Your relationship with wealth is a relationship. Stephanie and I are going to hit 13 years in June. And it's amazing. She's a saint. She stayed with me this long.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No one's arguing that.
There was a time where 13 minutes was a long-term relationship for me. But if I took a passive approach to the relationship, we'd have never made it here. And that's why, it may be a word game. I look at it and say, we don't want passive income. We want leveraged income. In other words, how much inputs of effort do I need to put in to get output? Mm-hmm. So the least leveraged is active income, one-on-one. Then you go to business income.
Yep.
You hire some team. You don't need to be there as much. Things operate a little bit without you, and you get some of that time back. Those two are primarily where a lot of us operate for the most part. It's where I produced all my income for the time being. Now, there's three above that. The three above that are the categories of income that will allow you to build the money machine because they're more leveraged. The one stage above it is asset-based income. Okay. The most recognizable one would be a piece of real estate. You buy a rental property, you rent it. Okay. There's still effort involved. There's still management involved, but it is far less than day-to-day operations of a business.
Right.
So you've leveraged yourself out and you have income coming up from it, from rents. You got tax deductions and you have appreciation. So now you're creating these income streams coming from this asset.
Yep.
So that's one step up. The next step up of leverage is what I call residual income. Create something once and get paid for it over and over again. This can be like my books.
Yep.
Could be my courses. I could white label. If you're in a network marketing type of situation, your downline is kind of a residual income stream. Intellectual property rights. So you put all the efforts in to create it and then allow it to produce income for a while.
Okay.
That's residual. Then the most leveraged is what I call portfolio, which is what most people think about when they think about investing. This is more paper assets, stocks, bonds, ETFs, index funds, annuities, those kinds of investments, because that takes far less effort on an ongoing basis to make that happen. And so when I work with people to build a money machine, what we're trying to do is take those bottom two, active in business, to create the top three. Okay. Because now I have the ability to leverage myself out of having to work. I get to move from a get to life to a have to life to a get to life.
Right. Okay. And then where does the lottery and gambling fit in on all of this? Is that number 6?
That's number 6. And the problem is that when you win it, you lose it just as fast.
This is totally a side note, but I saw a video online where this guy sold everything he owned, went to Vegas and put it down on black. He's like, I'm either going to win big or I'm going home broke. He sold everything, Mel. It was like $200,000 bet and he hit and it landed.
He doubled it. Here's the problem. He's going to go do it again. Hey, let's double down.
Yeah. Well, the other problem too is he didn't really double up because now you got to pay taxes on all that too. So
oh my God. Yeah.
Anyways, okay. So this makes a lot of sense. So really the earning machine is made of like the active in the business, which then fuels the asset, residual, and portfolios is essentially what it is, correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so the desire is this, that I want the top three, asset, residual, and portfolio to build it big enough to pay at minimum 80% of my lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then that gives me the flexibility. So what happened is that our earnings machine is paying 100+% of our lifestyle right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Between Stephanie and I,
Yep.
our earnings machine is just running. And so that means that any excess is building the money machine. The money machine can also pay 100% of our lifestyle. So we don't need 200% to pay our lifestyle.
Right.
So we use the active in the business to pay it. And the amount from the money machine just goes back into the money machine to grow it faster and bigger.
Yep.
And all that does is it gives us margin for error. It gives us more flexibility to be more generous, to do other things. It just allows us it gives us more flexibility. So when I shut things down during the cancer, those bottom two, I just brought them down to almost like 5%. I was making a little bit of money, but not much. And we flipped the switch on the top three, say, spit that cash out here so we can pay the bills and keep our life.
Yeah.
And then once I started to come back, we flip-flopped it again.
Yeah. I love it.
And that's the purpose of it. And then when you're done, what I mean, done, when you're like, your toes are on the grave and you're ready to go, you can take that machine and you go, here you go, kids.
Yeah.
It's yours to run now.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
We don't give it to the kids. They don't get the assets until they get the skill sets. Jeremy, my son, had to prove and has to prove that he has the ability to take care of it, to earn it, to do the right things with it, to nurture it and steward it for the next generations. And if he's not willing to do it or not willing to do the work, then it's not going to him. It's going to charity.
That's good.
It goes to a good cause.
Does he know that? Or is this just
does.
one he does? Okay. Okay, good.
He does.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
The good news is I don't have to worry about it. He's going to do just fine even without it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the funniest part about it is like, if you understand what to do with it, you don't actually need it. So you just get to double up on it or whatever. That's pretty amazing because you came here with nothing and been able to build that for the next generations to come as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you had mentioned something about, well, what happens if, they're not making a lot of money?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I know that's going to come up for people.
Yeah. And I get it. Here's the thing. The amount of money you make has less to do with your ability to build wealth than the behaviors you have. You may sit back and say, I have money issues. Right. You don't have money issues. You have money symptoms. They're symptoms of choices and decisions and behaviors of the past. Now, I don't say that to blame you. I say that to empower you because now what we need to do is understand the right choices, the right decisions, the right behaviors. Wealth creation is a muscle group. And just like any muscle build, it's not you don't go into the gym the very first time. You've never been in a gym. You walk in, you got your matching sweatsuit in and all that stuff. And you walk in and you slap about a bunch of 45-pound plates on a bench press and lay down on the bench and think you're going to push it. You're going to hurt yourself.
Right.
And so we start off small, not because it's going to grow big, but because it's going to grow the muscle. And so even if you are sitting back saying, all I can put away is $5.
Right.
Then you go and exercise the muscle for $5. You put it away in a high yield savings account for now, but you are creating the habit and the behaviors. That 5 will go to 10, will go to 20, will go to 40. And all of a sudden you start to get momentum. But if you do what some people say, they say, when I make more, I will do it more. Right. I promise you that you won't because you didn't develop the habits, skills, or the muscles to do it.
Yeah. And then high yield savings account, like, can they just go anywhere for that? Or is there certain places you recommend?
It depends. Here's the 3 criteria for a high yield savings account. Right now, you can get about 5.5% on it. It'll go down if they reduce interest rates, and it's a temporary spot. It's a high yield savings account should be used for money that you need within 5 years. So it could be for your tax fund. It could be for an improvement. It could be for your emergency fund, anything you need that needs to be safe. So the 3 criteria is this. it must be fully liquid. In other words, you're not locking it up for 6 months, a year, 2 years. You need to be able to get it within a day or two.
Okay.
It must be completely exempt of fees. So you're putting money in the bank. They're not charging you to have your money. Mm-hmm. And if they want to charge you, they don't get your money. Okay. Yep. So no fees. And then it needs to be completely insured. Mm. So this is about it being the safe money more than anything else. And so you can get high yield savings accounts at a lot of different places. I mean, full transparency, I have mine at Wealthfront. It's an online bank, but it's insured up to 8 million, fully liquid. I link my accounts. If I need the money, I just do a linked transfer within 48 hours, 24 hours. It's in my other account and I can do with it what I want. Right. And I'm making 5.5% on it, And so the point is to just get in that habit, not necessarily worrying about, 5.5% is not a lot. Well, it's more than what you were doing when you didn't do anything.
Yeah. And it just keeps compounding too. So it's like you keep adding to it and then the interest comes in and that adds to it. And then, it'll take a few years, but you'll reach a point where it's just like like the growth starts to really stack on top of each other.
What you're talking about is what I call the wealth flatline. At the very beginning of your wealth, you're putting money into these accounts. You're going to put it in a Roth or an IRA or different accounts, and you're investing and you're listening to me and you're doing this, and you do it for 5-6 years and you go, this guy Mel's an idiot. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. I made $67. This doesn't work.
Yeah.
Here's what's happening. During that time, you're in the zone called the wealth flatline. Mm-hmm. Think about it this way. You are compressing a spring. And compressing it and compressing it and compressing it and compressing it. And then what happens is that there's a tipping point that once you cross that tipping point, you hit the acceleration zone. Mm. And now all of a sudden, your money starts to make money momentum and now it rockets up.
Yeah.
But the only way to get through the wealth flatline is time. Mm. And people don't stay in long enough to get that work. And they get out, they stop, or they cash out. And what that does is it puts you back to stage one and you got to start all over again.
So how long what is that time frame? Is it dependent on, your situation, or is there a certain average that you can start to see that sort of growth timeline?
It depends on how much you're putting away in the income. I will tell you that the hardest number to get to, your first 100,000 is the hardest.
Okay.
And the reason for it is that you don't have enough critical mass for it to make a difference.
I see.
For the earnings to make a difference. That's one. Two, you are actually typically at the beginning stages of your wealth journey, which means that you have not fully educated yourself or learned and skilled up enough. So there's that skill journey that also makes it more difficult. But we need it. It's that resistance to build the muscle and the knowledge muscle to do it. So those are two of the big things that start to make that first 100,000 challenging. But once you get past that first 100, the second is easier and faster. I hit my first $100,000 in net worth at 29 years old.
No.
My second 100
savings and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
And that was without house. Yeah. My second 100,000, I doubled it within 4 years.
That's awesome.
Then then I over doubled it 3 years later. Now you see what's happening is it starts to compress and accelerate.
Yeah.
Because of the compound effect.
Right.
But we have to get to critical mass, but we're only going to do it if we're doing it consistently over time.
Right.
The more time you have, the less money you need.
Right.
The less time you have, the more money you need.
Right.
So I've got a kid.
Do some quick math so people can see this. Let's say we started with 100,000 and 1 year you get 5%, right? So you made 50K, right? So
no, you made 5K.
5K.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
50K
yeah, yeah.
would be.
All right. I was thinking a million in my head, 5K.
Yeah.
So, but the next year after that, if you don't even put anything else into it, now you have 105,000, and then you get even more interest. Now it goes into, now let's just call it, now you have 112,000. Now you're getting 5% on 112. So just in 2 years, you're getting that interest on 112 instead of the 100, not even including whatever you contribute to it. And that's what Mel's talking about. For obviously, I'm sure most of you guys understand that, but I just wanted to.
Here's the thing. At 20 years old, every dollar you put away will turn into $88 by the time you're 65 years old.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
If you wait a decade, if you wait till 30, that goes down to 44 times. Now it's still good, but it cuts in half, and it's just a decade. I
need to go back.
Then you look at, I know, but I've got a kid who he came into my program. And when he came into my program, he was 16 and a half years old. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, he wanted to come in. So I ended up having, because he was 16 and a half, had a conversation with his mother. And so she joins in the program. Yeah. 17 years old, he's in one of my calls and he says, I got a job. What do I do? I said, great. Open a Roth IRA. And he said, okay. So he opens a Roth IRA. 3 weeks ago, we're on a call. Yeah. And I said, Henry, how you doing? He says, good. He says, I funded my Roth IRA. Where do I invest it? And I go, cool. I said, you're 17 still? He says, no, I'm 18 now. I said, cool. How much did you fund it with? And I'm thinking he's 18 years old. What do you do? $500? $1,000? Right.
Yeah.
So he says to me, he goes, I fully funded 2023. Wow. And I already funded 2024. I go, what?
Okay.
I said, at 18 years old, you put 6,500 for 23 and 7,000 for 24 already? He says, yeah. He says, it helps that I'm still living at home.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that'll do it. But what kind of job did he have?
I didn't even ask because I was so floored. I said, let me do the math.
Yeah.
I said, at 18 years old, that $13,500 you put away will go up 107 times. Wow. You are a millionaire if you just do nothing else.
Yeah.
By the time you're 65. I said, the only thing we have to do is avoid stupid.
Yeah. That's crazy. Good for him.
Yeah. And this is why I think it's so important to have money conversations early and bring it into the home, but have the right types of conversations, because we can completely obliterate financial stress, especially if we start with our youth.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that's one of the conversations my wife and I are having now, because I remember talking to you, your age of like talking to the kids was around 10 or 12.
Yep.
And that's where Will is now. And our kids are all about money. They're like, can we do chores? Can we do this? Can we have money? The only problem is they're buying like Pokemon cards and things like that right now. So I'm like, well, we need to start focusing on a plan other than Pokemon cards or little stuffed animals at Target, So that's our next phase, is like, they're definitely thinking about the earning machine, their own earning machine. They're just not thinking about the money machine. So we're going to have to start having those conversations with them.
So tell me, are you paying them out of the business?
No, that's another conversation we're starting to have as well, because I know we should be.
Because if it's earned income, let me tell you what. So if it's earned income, you pay them out of the business.
Yeah.
Now, you tell them that there's a couple things you want them to do. One, this money is theirs to spend after they take care of a couple things. One, they have a piece, a sliver, a percentage that they allocate for generosity, for giving. So they learn the art of giving and contribution. Two, they allocate a piece for investing, and that is for their future. And I get it that they're young, but here's the beautiful thing. Henry is 18 and it went up 107 times. Here's what you do. You open up a custodial Roth for them. Okay. And you do this. If you put $100 in, I will match you $100. So now they get this matching and they go, wait a second. And it's like, now it means you can't touch the money really. You can with a Roth, but let's assume you can't. But the beautiful thing is this, is that Roth will grow like crazy because of how young they are. And it's 100% tax-free when they take it out at retirement.
So that's perfect.
And that's why I told Henry to do the Roth, because if he keeps putting money in at the Roth because his income's low enough, he still qualifies. Let's say he puts another 7 and a 7 and a 7. He's going to have $5-6 million in a Roth account that at 59 and a half, he could take it out and never pay a dime in tax because of the way the Roth works.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
And so you teach them through the process and have the conversations around, charities,
yep,
spending and fun, investing, and then with a match, so they have skin in the game. They start to understand it. Like when Jeremy was thinking of getting a car, I said, I will match your down payment.
Right.
I even did this with my book.
Yeah.
When they came to me for the book contract, I said, here's the deal. Most authors need the advance to put food on the table. I don't.
Right.
So every dollar you give me, I will match that dollar and we'll put it towards marketing. You give me $1, we got $2. You give me 100, we got 200. You give me 100,000, we got 200,000. You tell me how you want to play this game, and we're in.
I love it. So Mel
Abraham changes
of you.
The dynamics.
So Mel Abraham of you.
It really is.
It's a good way to get more out of them, I really I love it. Well, I know you've mentioned the book a few times, and I know you have a book coming out really soon, and we have something special for all the listeners as well. Tell us a little bit about the book and what they're going to learn inside of it.
Yeah. So my new book is called Building Your Money Machine, How to Get Your Money to Work Harder for You Than You Did for It. Mm-hmm. This is a book. I had no intention of writing this, but I spoke about a year and a half ago. I did a keynote at a conference for a little over 2,000 people. And then they asked, do you have time to do some Q&A? And I said, sure. So I stuck around and did Q&A for the audience for about 30 minutes. Problems when I got done, I realized that there was so much angst, anxiety, uncertainty, and fear around money that it bugged me. It really bothered me because I felt, and so I said, how do I help the masses? How do I help people? Because I don't have the bandwidth nor the desire to have a bunch of one-on-one clients, to build a big firm, to do any of that. But I really do want to serve. That's what I feel I'm called to do. And so that's where the book came from, was to how do I give people access to the road-tested principles, frameworks, and processes that I've used for someone like Henry, for my son, for myself, for you guys, to sit back and say, how do we give you freedom in life? How do we give you choice in life?
Right.
How do we build the money machine to do that? And so the book is a money book, but it is also a life book, because we start with your lifestyle. Let's define what it is, and let's give you the tools, the tactics, and the strategies so you can take control and build on it. Now, you learn the processes. There's something in there that I talk about as one of the primary frameworks called the Wealth Priority Ladder. Literally tells you every dollar when it comes in, this is how you allocate it and what you do. Take you through my investing philosophy, how to invest, how to figure out risk. What do you want in your portfolio? Where, why would you go to a Roth versus a non-Roth?
Right.
And that whole criteria is all in there.
Love it.
And then in the final chapters, we start to talk about this whole idea of transferring skill sets and legacy and everything, because in the end, we all have an opportunity to create inflection points in our life where the life beyond that point will never be the same again.
Right.
My dad, when he chose to come here in 1946, created an inflection point that allows me to do what I get to do.
Yeah.
And me creating the money machine has created a financial inflection point for my family, for the people that I love, and done right, transferred right, will continue long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
Long after I'm gone.
Well,
and so the idea is to build it in that way.
I think that, I think that's the thing that is so special about you and your process and in your book is there's so many financial books out there that can give you, advice on what to do, but yours is, and this is the thing that I think most people miss is it's not about just knowing what to do to make the money. It's knowing what you want, who you are, the legacy that you want to leave, and then molding a plan around that. It's not so much always a cookie cutter sort of system. It has to be wrapped around your values, what's important to you, and what you want to leave behind. And that legacy, ever since I've met you, Mel, that has been the number one word that I've heard from you and about you is it's about the legacy. Go ahead.
Well, I just think, because to me, legacies here, the way I see legacy is yes, I want to build something, but the true legacy isn't what I build to leave for someone. The true legacy is what I live to leave in someone. And that you in your interactions with the kids, with your wife, with the customers, every moment is legacy. Because we're living true to who we were put here to be.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we don't just leave a legacy, we lived a legacy. And so the whole thing is built around that and then how do I leave more behind?
Yeah.
And that to me, I tell the family, I said, I just want to build enough that I haunt you.
You'll not Yeah. That's so funny. Well, the most important part is like, if you're listening to this podcast episode, you really want to start building that legacy, you have to learn this first. Like if you want to give those skills and those, the ability to do the know how to do it to your children, you have to master this. And so Mel's book is coming out. When is it being released, Mel? What's the date?
It's being released June 11th.
June 11th. Okay. But it's not June 11th yet if you're listening to this episode when it comes out. So we have something for you. If you guys go to yourmoneymacinebook.com, so it's
yourmoneymachineshow.com.
Oh, yourmoneymachineshow.com. Okay. Yourmoneymachineshow.com. And you type in Brandon in the little field there. The first 10 people are going to get a free copy of the book. Okay. So if you're one of the first listeners, head over there. You can enter in your information. Mel's going to give out 10 free copies if you use my name as the code. And then if you're not in the first 10, there may be some little extra bonuses, wink, wink, something coming your way as well. So it's a win for everyone. So head over to yourmoneymachineshow.com, put in your information, use my code. First 10 people are going to get a free book. Mel, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think this is that no matter where your age or stage is, if we're going to win this game, we have to get out of the stands, off the sidelines, and on the field. And it isn't complicated. It is simple. It may not be easy depending on circumstances, but the ease will come by the simple processes and frameworks and things to do. Forget the complexity. Forget what the financial services people want to tell you, because the more complex they make it feel, the more dependent we are on them. But I can tell you this, no matter where you start, it is within reach. And financial freedom, I think it's your birthright. And my crusade with this book is to light the path for 1 million families to find it.
I love it. Mel, thank you so much for being here, sharing your wisdom with everyone. You have helped mold the life that I have today, and I'm so grateful for it. And I know anyone who goes and reads the book will have that same exact experience. So guys, get on the list. The book's coming out soon. You won't regret it. Mel, thanks again, buddy. Appreciate everything.
Thanks for having me again, Brandon.
Of course. All right, guys, if you have not done so already, head over to iTunes, leave us a review. I love reading those reviews. It lets me know that you are listening, paying attention, and appreciating what we're doing here. So head over there, and I'll see you guys all next week. Take care, everyone.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.